Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to this amazing interview. I'm joined by none other than the wonderful Lauren Collura. Has had an amazing track record in terms of her affiliate marketing in recent times, and has gone from Masterchef to Master Affiliate. So, Lauren, amazing to have you here. Very warm welcome to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jamie. It's an honor to be here with you.
I'm just going to give it a couple of moments there to see who pops on. We're just going live in the SAA group, also my group, and Jacob's group as well. So I'm going to give it a couple of minutes. If anyone happens to jump on, smash that heart button, drop a hashtag live if you happen to jump on the live. Give us a big wave. Say hello to Lauren. Just helps the message get a bit further out to the algo. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Give me a sec there.
Sure.
Lauren's going to sing a lovely tune while we wait.
Gosh, well, I wasn't blessed with the vocal cords. I got to tell you that. I don't have.
I sound like gravel, so yeah, I won't destroy the ears of the people listening in.
It's all good. It's all good.
Awesome stuff. Cool. Okay, so yeah, look, thank you so much for joining us, Lauren. Really appreciate you hopping on. And for us, it's just an opportunity just to kind of hear a little bit about your backstory and I guess how you've sort of blown up, all that sort of stuff. So to kick things off, do you just want to do a bit of intro, like who are you? What's your background? What have you done? How did you get into affiliate marketing? Maybe start with one and I'll work through the other questions.
Yeah, that's kind of a big, long story, right?
Yeah. No, go for it. We've got all day.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, in terms of my background, my most recent background, let's do that. Because if I go way back, we'll be here for another 2 interviews. So for the last 15 years, I've owned my own catering business. So I'm a professional chef. I've been a professional chef for 25 years, actually. And my own boss business for the last 16 years, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's tough. It's a tough business. You have to love it. And I did love it for a long time. Not so much lately, not recently with everything that's going on. It hasn't really been as ideal to be in this business as it used to be. It used to be a lot of fun to be a chef. Yeah. And hard work, definitely really hard work, but it was also a lot of fun. So that's changed. And I was even flirting with the idea a little bit of starting to ease out of it, just because physically it's really, really demanding, and I was tired. I'm really tired. That's what happens to a lot of us. We get burnout, pretty bad. So I was already thinking about doing something else, preferably online. I didn't know exactly what. I thought maybe for a while I was going to do like a YouTube cooking channel type thing or something along those lines. But again, I was kind of ready to move out of the food aspect of it and start to develop other aspects of my talents, because I wasn't always a chef. I started late in life, theoretically.
Really?
Yeah. Most chefs start really early. They're in their early 20s or they're in their late teens. And in my case, it wasn't the case. I started much later. I started I became a chef in my late 20s, which is late.
What did you do before that?
So that was, I was going to say, before that, I had a lot of different things that I did really after college. Like I went to university. I was an English Italian major, art history minor.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I spent my junior year abroad in university in Florence, in Italy, because that's where our junior year abroad program was with my university. And I'm very into art still, and I was into art then. And my art history minor came into this, and I spent a year abroad there. So then when I came out of there and came back to the US, I had a year left of university, and then I had to decide what I was going to do for work. And with that kind of majors and minors, you could do pretty much anything or nothing. But it's a very like open sort of arena when you have that, those degrees. So I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So I just went, New York City is a hop, skip, and a jump. I live in northern New Jersey, so New York City is like 15 minutes away. And I always was going there for everything, pretty much fun and work and everything else. So I started working in the city. I got a job in an Italian bank, working in the city using my language skills. And all through that period up until I went into culinary school. So that was a good 9 years. 5 of those years I lived in Rome. I moved to Rome.
Wow.
With no job, no nothing. I just moved with a friend of mine in a one-way ticket and 2 suitcases each. So it was kind of crazy and fun. Yeah, it was awesome. And no job, nothing, no, I saved money and we just said, let's go. So we were there, and then while I was there, I got this great job in the American Embassy, believe it or not. Just fell in my lap, like friend of a friend of a friend type of thing. And I was there for 5 years. So, which was amazing. It was the most amazing time of my life, I would have to say, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really amazing. So then I came back and I was like, now what do I do? Because I was in my late 20s and I was like, oh, actually almost 30. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? I don't want to do anything traditional. I don't want to be in an office anymore. I was over being in an office. I'm just like,
Sure.
Get me out of the office. I want to do something tangible, something with my hands, something that's real.
Yeah.
So my mom said to me, why don't you become a chef? You're great in the kitchen. You love to cook. And when I was in Italy, I did a lot of cooking, and we actually did some catering, believe it or not, out of our living room in Rome. We were doing we did some catering for the American Embassy. So that was kind of like my precursor. So then I went to culinary school, and that was really hard working full-time in the days at the bank, and then working at night, and then going to school at night. And it wasn't like sitting there with a pen. It was like, it was hard. Like it was being yelled at by French chefs. It was being, a little abused.
I just had visions of like a French Gordon Ramsay just going absolutely psycho on it.
They were so temperamental. And then there was a restaurant right in the French Culinary Institute is where I went to school. And there was a restaurant right inside the school. So people would come to eat. And they would get really great 3-course, 4-course dinners for like really, really cheap at the time, like $30 or something. And they would get like this full. But the students were the ones cooking. So, of course, they could do that. And they were making money from us, basically. But it was great experience. So that was like a whole year of grueling kitchen hard work. Yeah. And then after that, I started working in restaurants. And that was another interesting ride, because being a woman, it's not as easy as for men. And that's not because I'm playing the woman card. It just really isn't as easy. Like, to get the work, it's not as easy physically to deal with all of it. A lot of heat, a lot of fast-paced kitchen line work. It's tough.
Yeah. Can imagine.
But you grow with thick skin.
How did so if we fast forward a little bit, you've obviously been doing that for a little while. How did you then bridge into deciding to work for yourself?
Oh, to start the catering business?
Yeah.
Well, that was an interesting one too. I was working at the time in the city for it was a German couple that had opened an Italian restaurant. They had had a lot of nostalgic moments in Italy, and they wanted to open an Italian restaurant. I was really, actually, it wasn't really Italian. It was more Mediterranean. My food is not really Italian per se. It's got a lot of infusions of other places like Greece and Spain, and it has a little bit of everything in there from traveling around a lot and just having my own So I was their chef, their opening chef for their place. And needless to say, it wasn't the easiest place to work because they were very, very, it's difficult to work with a married couple. Let's just say that.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Oh, God. I mean, I really should write a book at some point. But I mean, they would have fights in the middle of the kitchen, in the middle of Saturday night service, and they would like freak out, and then they'd come in drunk, and it was just the whole thing. You know, I won't get into the details, but it was colorful. Let's just say that. And basically, it's every chef has a story like this. But I got married while I was in this place, you know, in this job. And then I went on I invited the whole restaurant to the wedding and the whole thing. And then I went to Italy for my honeymoon. And while I was there, I'd replaced myself with a friend of mine so that he could do my job while I was away. And while I was there, basically they fired me. And they gave my job to my sous chef for half the amount of money that I was making. Yeah.
Ouch. Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah. Always a nice thing, right?
Yeah.
So I came back and I had no job, and that was it. I was done. I'm like, I'm not working anymore for anybody. I had worked for a lot of different. I worked for Armani. Giorgio Armani had restaurants for a while in New York. I worked for him for 4 years. Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of different experiences, and I was done. I'm just like, I'm not marching to anybody's tune anymore. I have enough experience. I have to just, you know, do my own thing. So rather than have a restaurant, which is really tough, and you have to be there all the time, I decided let's go into catering where it's less. It's difficult, but it's a little less all-encompassing than a restaurant.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, it's more seasonal. There's slow moments. You can kind of go away if you want to now and then, and you know, still have a life. So I went into that, and that's how I got into it, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, being a pretty exciting career path. If you've done it for 15 years, it's a long time to be involved in any one thing. I think. Can you talk me through why you settled on going from, I guess, the chefing, catering, self-employed stuff to specifically affiliate marketing? What made you bridge over to that?
That's a good question. So what ended up happening was I had throughout my career, you know, a lot of different chefs I became friends with, and this one in particular chef, for a while, he had a blog, and he decided he was going to blog and just do like a home style cooking blog, and he started doing that. I don't remember exactly when it was in the whole 15 years that I've been doing my catering, but whenever it was, he was doing this blog, and he would ask me to go on there and just, you know, read and then just like click on links that he had put in his blog. And he's like, click on the links. He used to call me Collura. He'd be like, Collura, when you click on the links. And I'm like, really? Like, what? Like, what do you mean you make money? And he goes, just click on the links. Don't ask me questions. Just click on the links. I'm like, okay. So I would go on his blog and just click on the links. I'm like, I don't understand why I'm doing this, but whatever. So then at a certain point, he explained it to me. He's like, it's called affiliate links. And what it is if I sponsor this particular product and somebody clicks on my link and buys it from me, then I get a percentage of what they buy. So I said, oh, that's kind of cool, right? So then for some reason, one night it was late and I got back from working. And of course I was hyper adrenaline, you know, like you can't, it takes you a while to slow down when you do that kind of work. Like you can't just come home and go right to sleep. So I would come home late, like, you know, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. and I'd be like hyped up. And so one night I just got online and I had it in my head, like, what is this affiliate marketing thing? Like affiliate links. I started just doing some research, you know, and I started to see this whole thing and I'm like, wow, this is like a thing, you know, and I'm like, So I thought blogging, well, I love to write. Maybe I can start a food blog, you know. So I had all these ideas in my head, and then I would see YouTube videos. You could put links there. Maybe I could do like YouTube videos and then put links. Of course, I'm oversimplifying everything because in my head, I'm like, this is just so easy. Like, how could it be? You know, it can't be that easy.
Yeah.
Impossible. So that's kind of like what put the idea in my head. And frankly, I got too busy and I couldn't really get into any details about how it exactly worked.
Sure. Kind of reminds me of was that movie Julie and Julia? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I think it's Julia and Julia. I think it's Julia and Julia, isn't it?
I always get those confused, but yeah, same sort of thing. Starting like a food blog, which is kind of cool. Cool. Okay, and so the timing that you needed in order to actually produce content for a blog that was not really feasible at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. It was just like an idea that I had. I'm like, because I always loved writing because I was, pretty good at it, and I thought, okay, I want to start doing something other than this hands-on, like I was saying to you. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Because I love food and I still want to be involved in it. That was then. Now I'm like, whatever, but that was then. Now I'm like, I'm just ready to like stop. Not completely, but the hard grind of it, I'm ready to stop.
Yeah.
But, let me do a blog because I can write, But then I got too busy with the catering, it just got, it's seasonal, but then when it's off season, you're tired and you recharge your batteries so that you can go around again for the next season. So I never really got to the blog. I never got to actually doing the blog. I just thought about it. And yeah. And so it never developed into anything really, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And so talk about your pathways. You ended up, I think you and I had a chat some time ago, and that was kind of like you jumping into SAA. What kind of, I guess, what made you go, okay, I need to build a personal brand and go down that pathway?
Yeah. So when I finally did some research, which of course happened when COVID happened because my business went over the cliff.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it just basically went from, riches to rags. It's usually.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was bad. I mean, it just stopped. I mean, March 13th is when all hell broke loose, and my entire business just literally stopped, dead in its tracks. Yeah, it was really scary. And I was just like, whoa, now what am I going to do? So it ended up that my husband and I just purchased a home, believe it or not, that we had this plan that we were going to open a B&B, long story. Anyway, we bought this big house and then we ended up now renting it out because the B&B didn't happen because of everything else.
Right.
So during that time is when I started to research affiliate marketing because it came back into my head. And now I'm like, now is the time. This is the time because the timing is impeccable. If I'm going to get into something else, now is it. So I started doing some research, and there was this very charismatic gentleman that popped up on my screen, and he was going on and on about mindset and talking about affiliate marketing and talking about agencies and all the possibilities and how much money you could make. And I'm like, I was just drawn into him, like sucked in. I'm just listening. And I bought his course.
Yeah.
Right. So I bought his course. And then 1 month later, I was completely lost. Like, no idea what the hell I was doing because he had thrown this course had literally everything in it but the kitchen sink and no direction whatsoever as to how to implement any of those things.
Right. Okay.
It's the classic story, right, that we know so well now. But then, it's like YouTube and blogging and, not even any mention of Facebook organic and, no mention of organic whatsoever, just a lot of automation and funnels and all this stuff. And my head was spinning and it was going to I'm just like, oh my God. And it was a significant amount of money that I had dropped on this thing. So I'm like, now what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I have to make this work. So at that point, a lovely SAA affiliate found her way to me and talk to me about SAA. And at first I'm like, there's no way. And this was last year. This was right before it was before the price hike for
Yes. Yeah.
September. So it's exactly a year ago, which is funny.
Yeah. Oh wow. Kind of ironic that we're doing another one, 1 year down the track, right?
Yeah, I thought it was really ironic. I'm like, wow, this is so funny. I would never have imagined a year ago that I would be sitting here right now with you. Funny how life goes. But anyway, she made her way to me. She explained everything to me. I was very hesitant because I didn't want to spend more money, to be perfectly honest. I was just like, I have to make back the money that I spent before I spend any more. That was my mindset.
Yeah.
But then I slept on it. I slept on it for a while. I would say about a week. And the price hike was going to happen like in 2 days. And all of a sudden I just woke up one morning and I was just like, I have to do this. This was put in front of me for a reason. It resonates with me because it involves writing, it involves communication, it involves talking to people, building rapport. Those are all things that I had to do when I had my own business.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it wasn't anything new. I mean, it was new in the way it was being framed, but the skills that I was supposed to use for this were there already. And so I knew that I could transition them.
Yes. Yep.
And so I ended up calling the affiliate and I messaged her and I said, you know what, I thought about it and I decided that I think I want to do this. And she, of course, was like, great. And I remember that you and I had an emergency phone call because
yeah.
I had to get in before the price hike. So with the
Yeah.
time difference, you talked to me and it was like late. It was late for me, I think, and early for you or whatever it was. And I slid in right before the price hike went up. So
Awesome.
that was how it happened in terms of
yeah. So, like, I think one of the things that we often talk to people about as part of our sales process is we lean very heavily away from the normal hyperbole of like it's easy and it's done and it's going to be simple, and so we're pretty upfront with like, you know, this pathway is kind of a pain in the ass sometimes. And I guess where I'm going with that is, when you jumped into this stuff, was there like a mismatch between, I guess, when you first started getting into affiliate marketing versus actually really diving yourself into it? Was there a mismatch in terms of expectations, or were you like, once you found SAA, were you like, yep, okay, this is, you know, it's time to grind it out now, let's just get to work type stuff?
It's a good question. In terms of expectations, well, it's funny because I didn't really have a tremendous amount of expectations because first of all, social media, you know, I'm on Instagram for my catering business, but that's it. And it's not like, Instagram is different than Facebook.
Yes.
You know, it's much more photo based and just hashtags, and it's a different approach. I wasn't on Instagram for any reason other than just to be on it because I thought that I had to be. I didn't really use it to grow my business. So in that regard, I didn't have a tremendous amount of expectations on how this was going to go because I literally had nothing to measure it by. The part that I didn't have a lot of trouble with was starting with the content. I felt pretty comfortable with the content. After I got over my first or second post, I felt like, well, this part of it I can pretty much handle. Not that I was writing for conversion at that point. I was just writing, you know, nice posts.
To be consistent.
Yeah, I mean, no CTA at the end, you know, but I was like, okay, I could do this. I could write everyday posts and I'm good with that. Messenger, I dove right in. I was just like, I'm going to kill this thing. Like, because I felt this is talking. This is talking and this is talking. And I love to do both of those things. So Messenger, I was like a beast. I was just like I was just going at it like a maniac every single day on Messenger. So that wasn't an issue. When it started to become a little scarier was when the technical parts came into it.
Okay.
Like doing my Facebook banner, attaching my Bitly link to when I started a group, attaching my Bitly link, figuring out how to do that. Like all of those little technical things
Yep.
that they tend to make me anxious.
Yeah.
And
Fair
that's
enough.
present time too. That's not like
I'm not laughing at a judgment, by the way. I can relate because despite the fact running an online business, I find myself tearing my hair out at certain technologies at times. So I can relate to that one.
Oh God, I mean, I type really fast, which is great. Like I type like 80 words a minute or something, which is great. But when it comes to this technical stuff, I'm like, oh my God, to this day, like today, I had to figure out how to embed a link into my Google Doc. That took me like an hour. Like, I'm like, okay, I had my instructions and I'm like going through, I'm like, how do I not know how to do this? I not know how to do it. But I'm like, I am determined to get this done, right? And I did it. I'm like, oh, and then I just want to like celebrate, like after like that. So to this day, like I said, the humanity parts of this, like the parts that mean you have to connect with people, be it through your writing or be it verbally or be it through messenger, whatever, phone calls, messenger, I'm fine. Like I enjoy that part. I really do.
It's about being proactive, I guess, as opposed to relying on like an algorithm to rank content, things like that. So it's a little bit of a different ball game. So on that note, did you was there any struggles that you sort of overcome, or what struggles do you face? I guess is probably a better way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I overcame a lot of struggles. I was really not like the Facebook Lives. I was like, oh my God, I don't know. I'm not camera shy. I'm not like afraid of things like that. But again, what am I going to say during the Facebook Lives? Do I really know what I'm talking about? How do I position myself as an expert in something that I haven't been doing even a year? Because my background is such that in cooking and catering, you have to know what you're doing. Like you have to literally produce something, and that shows that you know what you're doing. Whereas when you're doing this, it's not quite the same. It's sort of an intangible knowing what you're doing.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So, and not because Lord knows I had a career before cooking, but this is the latest things that I've been doing for the last 25 years. So, I mean, you get kind of used to it. So that was a big hurdle for me. Like, it's like, who's going to listen to me? Like, what? Like, why do I know anything about this stuff? It was a big mindset thing for me. And I realized it's like, I do know a lot about it because I've actually been selling for the last 15 years. I've been selling my own stuff,
Sales is everywhere.
So I'd say that was a huge hurdle, plus the technical stuff, plus like starting a Facebook group. That was really scary for me. Because again, it went back to how am I a leader in this? Like, how am I, like I have to position myself as a leader, but like, how do I do that when I don't really feel like I am?
So that's an interesting one, because I think a lot of people have this sort of perhaps hurdle in their mindset when it comes to this stuff. And I always say, like, you don't necessarily need to be an expert. It's not about falsifying what you're doing and falsifying yourself in front of your audience, but we often say, like, document your journey, because I think if you're enthusiastic about what you're doing and as you're learning, you're sort of like regurgitating the information that you're putting out there, the people that are sort of behind you in terms of learning curve, they're going to go, okay, that's pretty cool. Okay, well, it's almost like an inspiration just to be out there and I guess putting out content and learning and documenting what you're doing and, going through that process. So that's what I normally tell people. You don't necessarily need to be an expert, you need to be heading towards becoming that eventually, I guess.
Yes, now that makes entire sense to me. But at the time, when I was first coming in, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I'm seeing, you see all the people like smashing it and all these results. And it's like, oh my God, it was intimidating. It was very intimidating. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, how can I have, like, I'm coming online now, I'm starting this whole new thing. What am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? How am I going to do this? So I went through a lot of mindset things, a lot of mindset hurdles that I had to really jump over. I read a lot of books. I watched a lot of webinars. I came to every SAA coaching call. I don't think I missed one. Like, I don't think I missed one for 9 months in a row, literally.
Yeah.
Like every Tuesday night, there I was. Like, that really, really helped. Like, a lot, because it was my lifeline. You know. And another thing that was hard for me was the idea of working virtually. Like, it was just so foreign to me. It's like, I can really just sit in my office and make money.
Yeah.
How could that
be? Pretty cool, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, it's just like, it was very foreign to me because of what I had been doing. Because everything that I was doing was so tactile. You had to be on site, and you had a team, and you were touching people and meeting people face to face, and it was very much that way. So transitioning to this was a big change. It was a big change.
I had similar experience in some ways. My roles in the corporate world historically were quite, how do I put it? Like in sales, the last few roles that I had, and sales is very, and I'm sure probably be able to relate to this in terms of what you've done. It's like, it's all upbeat, and you have to, like, you're engaging with people, and it's like this kind of energy in this environment that gets created. And then when I left the workforce, I was sort of working for myself at that time, by myself. I was like, wow, this is a bit different. Like, there's no kind of like, there's nothing, people around me that I can banter with and stuff like that. Which I think is why having some form of community, even if it isn't an online one, it's so important as part of this process, because you just, you need those people to kind of lean on and engage with and chat to and stuff like that, I think, as you go through this pathway. So, okay, in terms of, you mentioned that you had a couple of hurdles in terms of mindset, stuff like that. Was there like a tipping point where you're just like, no, I get this now, this is awesome, I know what I'm doing, type thing? Like, was there a turning point that you can pinpoint at all?
Let me think. It was honestly, it was sort of a slow and smooth progression, I would say, more than it was like a boom, like a real major turning point, I would say. Things have shifted, though. Things have shifted. I would say in May is when I had a shift.
Right. Okay.
Okay. SAA, of course, is my tried and true, my #1 program, always. But then I realized I needed to invest in myself a little further, because I felt like I needed a little, like a push or a jump or like I felt stalled. So, and I know that in myself. Like, I'm the type of person that I'm very, very steadfast and very, very consistent in everything that I do. And I stayed extremely consistent with this, which is key. Whoever's listening, whoever has not gotten to that point yet where you're like, why am I doing this, and all of that I went through, don't, like, stay consistent no matter what. Just do it every single day, even if it's not a full day. Like, say something comes into your life and you have to stop, you can only do half of your daily DMO. Just do half your DMO, or your DAP, whatever you want to call it, daily action plan, daily method of operation, either way. Do it. Just do it. Keep doing it. I mean, I'm like, even if I had catering that came up, because I would have spurts of catering, I would keep my phone close by and just get on my profile, engage, make sure I post it every morning, or at night, even if I had to post late at night, if I couldn't get to it in the morning. The consistency aspect is so, so important.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah. It's just, it makes all the difference. It really does. So in terms of a turning point, like I said, I would say May. but around February or March of this year is when I reinvested in myself. When I went into, and I went a little deeper into the process through that investment. And with that, I think also the fact that I invested in myself pushed me just in and of itself. You know, and then I felt a definite tangible shift at that point.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, but it still wasn't resulting. I wasn't getting the monetary result that I wanted.
Yeah. But that's, if I could, sorry to cut your train of thought off.
No, you're good.
But that's an interesting talking point, is because that's normally how it goes. It's not like you get a whole bunch of cash and then you're like, oh well, once it's shifted now, it's like you've got to make that mental shift for yourself before the results become tangible. And like you say, a lot of the time for anyone that's sort of experiencing this kind of part of the journey where you're just like, am I even doing the right thing? Like, what am I missing? And sometimes it is just, as Lauren mentioned, it's about maintaining that sense of consistency as you're going through it. And then, like you say, sometimes you can kind of feel it. It's like, I think something good is going to start transpiring soon. I feel like I'm on the right pathway. And that's because you know that the work and the consistency that you've been putting in the whole time, it is building up to something. And then, as Lauren mentioned, there's probably a couple of things that come into alignment, and the rest is sort of history, so to speak. But anyway, sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, it's fine. No, absolutely. No, you're right. I mean, it's a sort of, it's even hard to describe, because right before that happened, I was sort of really stuck. Like, I'm like, oh my God, this is just not, I don't think it's going to work. Like,
it's the glass ceiling.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to say I don't think it's going to work, but what had happened was because I had gotten high ticket sales. It's not like I didn't get any high ticket sales. You know that, right? I mean, I got the high ticket sales. There's a lot of people that haven't even gotten those yet, but they will get them, because that happens all depending on the person when it's going to happen. But even having gotten the high ticket sales, I still felt stuck because it wasn't consistent. It wasn't consistent, and I'm like, this isn't going to really work if it's just haphazard like that.
Yeah.
And then I doubled down on SAI in the beginning of the year. And that was a big shift, because when I doubled down on SAI, I started getting a lot of SAI sales.
Yeah.
It was like a good number of SAI sales. But they weren't SAA sales. So it was kind of like, I know that was because of my mindset, because in my mind, I was thinking, I can get these low ticket sales, I'm going to go for the low ticket. When in reality, that's not the way really you should be thinking. You should be going for the high and then going to the low when you don't sell the high.
As an offset. Yeah.
Right. But I wasn't. I was going straight for the low, because I'm like, I just want to get these sales. And truthfully, it did help my mindset. Even though they were SAI sales, it still helped my mindset, because they were sales. They were sales.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So I mean, it's better than no sales at all. I was thinking, well, I'm just going to go for SAI. I was the SAI queen for a while. I was all these SAI sales. I'm like, this is awesome. So then that's when I was stuck. Then after all the SAI sales, I'm like, you know what? I just need a jump start. I need a push. So that's when I reinvested in myself. And that is when the shift started to manifest, I guess, in June, I would say.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, because you've sort of blown up in recent times, and which I think is amazing, by the way. And so now you're seeing like a sense of consistency from you being consistent. You're now seeing that manifest in terms of consistent sales, which I think is absolutely incredible. So, like, in terms of what changed, like, is there a completely different process? Like, what sort of changed in terms of, I guess, practical steps in terms of getting sales on a regular basis?
I would say that I've gotten better at targeting for sure, like targeting my prospects.
Yeah.
Examining their profiles better, not just sending out haphazard friend requests. Not that I ever really did that. I was always, I was always profiling the people that I was sending friend requests to. But this now, as of late, I think I've dialed into that a little better.
Sure.
I think my messenger has improved a lot too. Just keeping it tight, not letting it go into tangents, not being too businessy, but not being too personal, like somewhere in between. I think I've kind of struck a good balance between those two things.
Yep.
The conversations are flowing better. They're flowing pretty easily. I'm really confident in Messenger. I spend like a lot of time in Messenger.
Yep.
I just think that that's where it's going to happen. It's going to happen in Messenger, whether it's an inbound lead or an outbound lead, whatever it is. I still do a lot of Messenger outreach. I mean, I do. I just think it's important. I do. And Jacob even did, I think it was during one of the coaching calls, or maybe it was a bonus webinar he was doing. I don't quite remember now, but he mentioned how important it is to reach out to people. How this attraction marketing is, of course, very important. Content, doing the heavy lifting, is also very important. But he said, let's not forget that you still have to reach out to people on Messenger.
Yeah. It's one of those things, and this is something that I've kind of hammered home to my audience, is that just for everyone's, I guess, benefit as well, you don't get stuck doing this stuff forever, by the way. But I think it's about understanding that sometimes you just kind of need to get your hands dirty in order to build the credibility behind your brand to start with, in order to then have that confidence within the sales process to then go, okay, I'm going to start layering in different things in place to kind of ascend yourself beyond doing that type of stuff. I think what happens in this industry in general is a lot of people, they're wanting to bypass that step. They're wanting to just go, nah, there's got to be an easy way. And yeah, eventually there is different components and you become better at certain things. But I guess in your case, like going back to the consistency thing, how many reps did you do? Like if you were, talking gym types analogy here.
You mean barbell reps, yeah.
Yeah, repetitions of that. Like how many conversations did you have? How many pieces of content did you put out? Like all that stuff. And as you go through this process, you're refining it, you're becoming better and better and better. And so sure, at some point, like the goal isn't to be stuck doing this stuff all the time. It is to basically cut your teeth, to build that credibility within your brand, to then start to get some of the inbound leads, to start to ascend yourself beyond doing that stuff, or outsource it, at some stage as well. And I think that's, as you say, like the money is in the messenger. It's really, really vital. So that's awesome, man. I'm so happy to see that you're kind of blowing up. So in terms of, I just want to circle back real quick to the mindset stuff, just really quickly, because like you said that you sort of became, like there's a few more things that started clicking into place and whatnot. I guess in terms of that, like, was it just like, okay, cool, I'm now way more confident in terms of what I'm doing, or is it just like there's adjustments that went along the way and you're just like, okay, I got this now? Because where I'm going with this is because I know after you've made a few sales, and especially if it's on a somewhat more consistent basis, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You become more confident in every time you're doing that repetition. You're stronger and you're better, and you learn how to dismiss the conversations that aren't going to go anywhere a lot quicker as well. So was it, I guess if you can kind of talk us through that process in terms of becoming more confident in manifesting sales and stuff, if you've got any kind of key points to throw out regarding that.
So how you're saying how it evolves in Messenger and what's going on in my head as I'm doing it? Is that?
Yeah. I probably should have just condensed the question down like that.
No, it's fine. No, trust me, it's fine. I would say that as I'm going along, like, okay, I have an outreach message that I use most. It's sort of like I don't want to say it's a template, but let's say it's a skeleton that I usually use, and then I'll just adjust it depending on who I'm sending it to.
Yeah.
So I'll find a common thread with whoever it is that I'm sending that outreach message to. Even though it's the basic one, I'll add in a component to make it more personal for that person. Let's say they're from New York. Oh, we're neighbors. Oh, wow. Okay. Whatever. I'll put that into the outreach message. I always find a common thread with the person, some sort of common thread. It could be anything. It could even be that I want to visit where they're from. I mean, it could be some sort of a talking point to pull in the conversation. And usually I can tell early on if that person is receptive at all. Like the other day, I had some guy that just like flipped out on me. He only accepted my friend request because he wanted to tell me not to try and sell him something.
Why would you bother? It's brilliant. I love that.
I swear to God. I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, the guy went ballistic on me because he said, what are you going to try and sell me? And I'm like, okay, first of all, why did you accept my friend request if now you're going to be like on your guard? If you accept someone's friend request, it means you want to chat, or at least you know that the person's going to try and chat with you, right? He's like, well, the reason I accepted is because I wanted to tell you to stop and to not try and sell me something. And I'm going to tell my mentor that you are trying to sell me something. And I'm just like, okay, block. Hold on. So that's what I mean. Like, I've become like, let's say 9 months ago, if that had happened, I would have been like a quaking mess. I would have been like, oh my God, like, what did I do wrong to piss this guy off? Like, what did I do? Right? Like, it's my fault. But instead, fast forward 9 months later, I'm just like, this guy's like, he's a flip out. Like, I'm just going to block him and move on. Like, it's like, I know certain people are going to stick to you like a magnet. Other people are just going to kind of be okay, like there's not going to be a tremendous synergy, but there's going to be an okay rapport.
Just on that one.
Other people, not at all.
Yeah, exactly, right? And that's kind of the beauty of it. So on that one, if we go back to sort of the beginning of your journey in this game, specifically the Facebook organic stuff, I know for myself, I used to like kind of wish and pray and hope. So I might get these weird situations. I'll just be like, hopefully maybe I can, I don't know, maybe I can turn them around, or like there was an element of hope behind it, as opposed to just going, no, I'm going to cut my losses straight away. And it's not necessarily that you don't always block people. You don't always just dismiss them completely automatically. But it's just that whole thing of, I think once you've done it enough, you refine where your energy goes, and you become a little bit more efficient with that. And so that was kind of where I was aiming before as well, with the before and after.
I gave you yeah. It was something that happened recently. It was extreme case scenario in that regard. I don't block a lot of people at all. Like, what I normally do, all kidding aside, is I see if the person has a problem. First and foremost, I mean, after that initial connection point of, oh, you're from New York, or, oh, I love Belgium, I'd love to visit one day, or whatever it is, okay? That initial connection point. After that, I'm going to know more or less if there's a rapport between me and the person. And also, I want to find out early on if the person has a problem. That is something that I really put into my process. Finding out.
Sorry to cut you off there. Can we just talk on this one for a moment? Because I think what happens for a lot of people is they go, yeah, but everyone's just trying to sell me something. And so therefore, it like you run into loggerheads with people, kind of like you're trying to solve their problem, they're trying to solve your problem. And so is there a way that you identify that? And you might have been on your way to explaining that, so I apologize for cutting you off. But anyway.
No, it's fine, Jamie. It's fine. How do I identify that the person has a problem? You're saying? How do I?
So I think a lot of the time people, like if you're selling to or trying to identify if there's a problem there, they also have something that they are trying to sell, and so therefore you end up like two opposing magnets just going at it type thing. So like, do you have a process for identifying that those issues?
The counter pitch.
Yeah.
Let me think. That just happened to me like an hour ago in Messenger, I think. It happened. I mean, it happens to all of us, like, multiple times.
Yeah. I get sold all the time.
It's happening less and less, though, to me. Like, it's interesting. I'm not getting that. Like, I used to get that a lot more, the person that would just try and pitch me. Sure. And now it's not happening as much, which is kind of funny. Even if the person has a program, sometimes they'll say to me, "Oh yeah, well I'll ask them in the process. I'll say, so what do you do online? What type of work do you do?" And if they say to me, "I'm an affiliate marketer," "Oh great, I'm an affiliate marketer also." "Are you high ticket?" I'll say, and they'll be like, let's say they say, "Yeah." "Oh yeah," and okay, and then they'll say to me, "What about you?" And I'm like, "Yes, what do you promote?" They'll say to me. I always try and avoid saying what I promote in terms of the name of the actual program, but sometimes it's appropriate because it's just you're talking shop at that point. Yeah. You probably know that person probably doesn't have a problem, but they still might have a problem. At that point, I'll just be like, "Well, I promote a program that does organic marketing on Facebook. What about you?" And then they'll say, now at that point, I'm going to identify what they do. Because just because they're affiliate marketing doesn't mean that they're doing organic marketing on Facebook. They could be doing YouTube. They could be doing organic marketing YouTube. They could be doing blogging. They could, all that stuff. Normally at that point, that's when I'll get the answer as to what they do. And try and dial in on that and see if they have the problem. So that's normally where I'll jump in to see if they have the problem. So like the other day, a guy's like, "I'm a blogger." "Oh, great. And how's it going?" "It's slow."
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, "Yeah, blogging takes a long time. It takes a long time for blogging to take off. It's not a fast process. You have to be patient, but it depends on how much time you have to wait." And I'll say like, I didn't have a lot of time to wait when I got into this. So that's why I didn't go that direction. And then normally they'll say, "Well, what direction did you go in? Like, what are you doing?" And then I'll start to get into like what I'm doing. And a lot of the times, because now I know that they have a problem, their growth is slow. If it wasn't a problem, they wouldn't have told me that. That's how I identify it in my head. Now I know that person has slow growth. Who wants slow growth? Like even if, right? I mean, even if you have all the time in the world to do this and make it work, or you have a second job, whatever it is, money's not an issue, whatever, you still don't want slow growth.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So at that point, I know that they're slow. And they're going to probably respond, hope or not, to a solution that could be quicker.
There you go. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So then at that point, it's like, okay, well, what are you doing exactly? Like, can you explain it to me? Like, a lot of times they really don't know. So at that point, there's the option to start to explain what you do. But I come up with responses now that are more concise. Whereas before, I used to like go on and on and on in a big, long, involved thing, It's like, like I've learned now, don't talk too much, which is always a problem.
Yeah.
Keep it short, keep it concise. So I've worked on that. I've worked on that on myself in the sales process, where you let the person talk and you listen, as opposed to yammering away, which is what I used to do, and I still hold myself back from doing that. But I've learned you've got to let the person talk. Don't, just say key things, certain key things that I've come up with that I know I could say that will spur them to open up and talk.
I love that, because what you're sort of mentioning there, this is brilliant talking point. Is when you're saying identifying problems, I guess with a bit of experience, you're going to get a bit more foresight as to what those potential problems might be. But exactly as you mentioned, it's not an obvious thing. Yeah, on blogging, they might not have a problem still, but at the same time, you also know that, well, there's like, I guess, proactive, going and chasing leads and putting out content and trying to attract your perfect audience, which is going to happen in relatively quick succession by contrast to perhaps blogging. And so therefore, sometimes you need to think a little bit laterally about these things to kind of think, well, what could complement that, or what issues are there? Low ticket, I'm only working on low ticket. Cool. Well, higher customer value for the high ticket. Okay, that's something new. So therefore, it's a synergy there. I think that's kind of fascinating. Was that something that you kind of worked out just through being in the trenches, or repetitions, or is it due to kind of training, things like that?
I think it's a combination. Yeah. I think that the concept of a person having a problem, I think once you have that in your head, your number one thing you have to find out here before you even do anything else is if that person has a problem. Because if they don't, there's no sale. You're not going to sell anything to that person.
Pushing string uphill. You're trying to sell to someone that doesn't need it. That's right. That's the thing, right?
Right. Yeah. So I think that was a big key shift in my head. And believe it or not, I didn't get that early on. Like the shift came, like that concept of someone having a problem didn't really click in my brain in the beginning. It was more like, well, I have this awesome program and I know that people are going to want to buy it if I frame it right. But it really doesn't have a lot to do with that. I mean, you have to frame it right, of course, but it's more how, I don't want to make it sound terrible, but it's how desperate is that person? Like how badly do they want a solution to their problem?
Yeah.
And the closer, the more desperate they are, I mean, that's maybe not the right word, but you know what I'm saying, the more anxious or whatever, the more dialed in they are on finding that solution. Problem aware, solution aware.
Yes.
The more they're going to be closer to buying something that's going to solve that. So once I got that in my head, I think there was a major shift with that, does the person have a problem? Because if they don't, you're done with that conversation and you can end it. You can end it.
So, and that's was one of the things I was sort of mentioning before. I think after a bit of practice, you become a lot more in tune with, I could try and convince this person that what I'm doing is the most amazing thing since sliced bread. And I'm just going to throw my 15-page essay that I've been preparing out there of all the things of why it's awesome. Or, and it's not about just walking away from every conversation just because you hit a roadblock. I mean, there is, objection handling and all that sort of type of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
If it's feasible, but then of course, like if it's not there and they're like, no, I'm dedicated to this and I love it and it's the best thing ever, and then introducing something else is just it's going to like I say, pushing string uphill. That's awesome. So, what sort of wisdoms do you have to share for the audience? Like, and no matter what stage they're at, if they're kicking butt or they're just starting off or they're somewhere in between. What wisdoms do you have to share for us and advice?
Well, my number one wisdom is try to block out what's going on around you online. Like I'm not saying don't be in tune, don't make friends with people, don't connect with people, your peers, and that's all very important. Forming groups and friendships is all super, super important. But don't get swayed by the results that other people are having, positive results specifically and financial results specifically, because that can really be a deterrent. That can really start to make you look inward and say, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I not getting these results? Or it can intimidate you and make you feel like you're never going to achieve those results. It's a mind game. Because if you look online, everybody's making millions of dollars, and that's not always the case. That's not always the case. People make it appear like they are, or they show you that they are, but in reality, you really have no idea what's going on with that particular person or anyone else that's doing that online. Like you really don't have any idea. And if you allow it to infiltrate your mindset, and you allow, it can really do a number and derail you. It can really demoralize you. I would say that's really important. Another wisdom is consistency. There is just, I can't stress it enough how important it is to be consistent. Show up even when you don't want to show up. Just show up, even if it's for like a quarter of the time that you normally do. Say you work on your business 4 hours a day, and that particular day you're just like, I just can't do it today. I just can't do it. Show up and do a half an hour, but do something, and try not to let, I'm not saying you should take another thing, take time off if you can. Like take it, if you feel like you're getting overwhelmed and you just can't absorb anymore, or you're just so done, like you're mentally fried, take a day, take 2 days if you need to, and just detach, which is something that I'm awful at, which is why
yeah.
which is why I'm trying to say, don't be awful at it like me, because it really does burn you out. I mean, messenger burnout is real. It's real, but it's also necessary to be a messenger. So, no matter what, I understand content. I get it. It's very important, but it's important to be a messenger, especially in your beginning stages, before you're established. It's one thing you're Jamie Gardner. It's another thing if you're only been doing this a year or whatever. And then there's people that have been doing it for a year that don't need to be a messenger anymore. So my point is, everybody's different. Everybody's different. But when you're at a certain stage, and you know when that stage is, you know when you have to be a messenger still. You just do, And you're going to know when you don't have to be a messenger, which I don't know yet, but hopefully I will. But right now, I'm still a messenger. But I've learned, and another wisdom, embrace messenger. Don't look at it like it's a pain in the ass. Embrace it, because it's your most important tool to connect with people. And it's actually awesome, because if we didn't have it, yeah, right?
Me dropping the mic.
Right? What would we do? Funnels? Who the hell wants to do that? Not me.
Not if you're a technophobe.
Jesus, that's all I need, right? Is to do funnels. Funnel hacker. God, no.
Yeah. But you touched on something pretty important there, though, as well, is that like I said earlier as well, like you don't have to get stuck doing this stuff. And I dare say, I'm going to throw it out there, I'm going to blindly assume there's going to be a point in your journey when you're going to go, you know what, a funnel is a great idea. Let's roll. This is amazing. Because what happens if you learn to cut your teeth at this level, and you learn to just put out the content that connects with your perfect audience, and you learn how to find your perfect audience, you learn how to sell, and you have that confidence just to go into Messenger and just like, all right, I'm going to hustle up for a day and try and get some leads, and all right, here we go, let's go. Like the confidence you feel from being able to do that is going to lead into all those other things. It's going to lead into when you start wrapping funnels around what you're doing, and starting to automate certain processes, because you're going to know how to sell, how to market, how to build your content out, all that type of stuff. And I don't think that you can get away with not doing that. I think it's just one of the most vital things you can learn, is just right from the ground to floor, as you have done, which is absolutely amazing. And I love the advice as well. Consistency and blocking out the noise. It's like the blocking out the noise. It's not always easy, I must confess. Even me, every now and then, I'm like, oh man, it's a mighty big month you've got there. That's pretty good. And it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard to do. It's easy to say, just block out the noise. Don't worry about it, what everyone else is doing. But yeah, it's vitally important to do it.
It's really important, and yeah, it is hard. It's really hard. What I try and do when I'm feeling like, oh gosh, like I'm not getting these results, is make a list of what you've accomplished. Like just in the past, whatever week, if you want to do a week, do a small block of time. Sometimes I'll do a bigger block of time because the list is longer and more impressive, and then I can feel a little bit, better in my mindset about all the things that I've accomplished, and think about a whole year ago where you were. Like a whole year ago, I was talking to Jamie, but it was because I was getting into SAA. Now I'm talking to Jamie because Jamie called me and asked me if I could come in and do an interview, which, it's just like this and this. It's completely different. So it's amazing what you can accomplish if you really stay consistent, block out the noise, apply your daily process, have a daily process that you really stick to.
It's one of the kind of amazing things about this online journey is if we have a look at that, it's about a year-ish, give or take, right? Approximately, and maybe some interest in affiliate marketing prior to that or whatever. But the results can compound really quickly. And what people, what you'll find is that all of a sudden the gaps between the next income level tend to shrink a lot more. It's not like, with catering, for example, you have to either get more people on board so you can be in more places, when of course, catering's, like a big thing again, absent of COVID.
Right.
But like, it's a little bit different when you're doing it online, because that gap between like going from, a few sales here to consistency, and then, going to that next rung of the ladder, it starts to condense down pretty rapidly, which is pretty freaking awesome. So that's cool. Well, I really appreciate you jumping on board for this interview. It's, like you say, a year's time, it's not really that long. That's pretty impressive. So thank you for hopping on board. Anything else you'd like to add to these wonderful people that are tuning in at this stage?
Well, I'm happy to that. And is anybody on live? I can't see on this side if anybody's on live.
Yeah, got a few people tuning in. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, good. So thanks for being here. I was like, oh my God. No, I'm very happy that that there are some people on live, and I really appreciate that you took out the time to spend this hour with us. I really, I don't know if I know any of you personally. I know I saw some faces in the invites that I know. So hi to my friends that are here, and then hi to future friends. I just want to encourage everybody to just keep doing it. You're in the right program. You have the right coaches. You have the right curriculum. Everything about SAA is just, it totally changed my life. And I'll always be indebted to them for that. It's just been great. It's been personal growth. It's been professional growth. It's been transitional growth. It just goes on and on and on. Still happening presently. It's not in the past. It's still presently happening, and it's going to keep happening in the future. So I wanted to thank you, Jamie, for everything you've done. You, Jacob, Chris, my weekly lifeline that I would tune in every single week for 9 months straight. I've released my umbilical cord a little bit now. I'm not a little bit now, but like literally, like every week. I was like Tuesday night. My husband's like, "Oh my gosh, okay, bye." It was always like right after I got to run upstairs. I got my meeting. So I've released that a little bit. I've become a little more independent minded now.
I like it.
But for the longest time, that was not the case. So whoever is with SAA, I encourage you to tune in weekly to the calls, because it really makes a huge difference to know that you can ask any question that you want, listen to the questions that other people ask, and just sort of just hang out and be a part of the community, because it's really important to have that. You don't want to be floating around by yourself out there. It's a big, bad world online. It really is. It's there's people that don't have your best interests, and then there are people that are really unbelievable. Like I've met the most amazing people through this whole year. made some really great friends that I've never physically met, which is still so strange to me. Just it's like it's hard for me to grasp that, but it's true. I mean, it's like friends in Australia, friends in England, friends, you know, I mean, it's just everywhere. So I say embrace it, enjoy it, have fun. Don't get too serious, you know, be serious, but don't be too serious. And the more you release your grip, I'm realizing this too, the more you release your grip, the better things go. Because you allow it to naturally flow. It's that I tend to really clamp onto something and at all costs to make it work. And when I get way too intense, it goes in the other direction.
Yeah.
So
that's I can relate to that one as well. And the more, as contradictory as it sounds, but the more you let go of holding on to that outcome, the more those outcomes actually tend to pop up, which is that's pretty damn awesome. Cool, Lauren. Where can we find you?
Where can you find me? Now this is interesting. Meaning, like my email was?
I just, as I said that, I realized, actually, no, she doesn't have a funnel that, you don't have like laurencollura.com or anything. So, is there anywhere we can contact you if people want to reach out and say hello?
Well, you can message me on Messenger, or you could request to join my group.
There you go. Go hit up Lauren. She's awesome. Lauren, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening, I guess, for tuning in. So massively appreciate it. And yeah, look forward to seeing what the future holds for you. Appreciate your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Jamie. It was great being here, and I appreciate you asking me to.
Awesome stuff. Thanks very much for joining us as well, guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night. See you around.
Bye-bye.